This conference will now be recorded.
So what'd you do?
Like, yeah.
Those spikes hit on you. Were you hit or did you?
I couldn't get my foot out of the.
Oh, really?
And just like, and there was like rubber tie line perfectly with the trail, so I just hit it perfectly and snapped everything.
I'm saying it's not super hot in the middle.
Yeah.
You wanna wait or you want to wait to get it over?
I might wait till spring.
Roll. Well, that won't make it hotter. Thank you. This is the Northbrook and Eastern Air Quality Planning Council for December 5th. We're at the beautiful College facility in Green, Colorado. Welcome, everybody. We start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. Wherever that's.
Mr. Chair, we do actually have a flag all the way down there. Stand on your toes. There it is.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Label. All right, thank you all. All right, let's start with agenda item number 1, where I call the meeting to order. I am calling the meeting to order. Welcome, pledge allegiance, we've done all that. Go on to item 2, which is public comment. Is there anybody from the public? Make a comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3, which is approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the last minutes from November 7th.
So moved. Second.
Wonderful. Hearing a motion and a second, the minutes have been approved. We'll switch over to the lead planning agency for air quality agenda. Agenda item number 4, air pollution control division. That's a written report. That's on page 17 of the packet. Number 5 is the NFRMPO air quality program updates. Assuming we have Dina online. Go right ahead, Dina.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. So first of all, I do want to acknowledge that I am also a RAC board member. But tonight here I am working as as your consultant and not in that capacity. So I just want to make that clear.
So
thank you. So this, what happened in November, a lot of things going on, but in some ways kind of short and sweet since we're outside of the summertime ozone season. So the Air Quality Control Commission, they had a greenhouse gas subcommittee that's been working on revising their greenhouse gas resolution 2024. I've highlighted in the past, some of those revisions are definitely related to transportation related efforts. The resolution, is directing them to directing the commission and identifying their own intentions of pursuing additional reduction strategies for greenhouse emissions. They'll be definitely related to transportation, and in particular, pursuing clean miles strategies and extending greenhouse gas reduction goals for existing large buildings, as well as then directing the Air Division and other agencies to investigate strategies to further reduce vehicle emissions, including from indirect sources and land use planning, housing, and transit. So very much in line with some of the legislation that we've seen in recent years. They did end up adopting that resolution, and so we use that as an indicator of what we can expect to see in the upcoming years from the Air Quality Control Commission and reduction strategies that are put forth for their decision making. We also saw that the commission was briefed on updates to Colorado's greenhouse gas inventory, both historic emissions, 2005 baseline, because of all the reduction targets are benchmarked against the emissions from that year. And so it just reflects improvements to data sets, methodologies, that kind of thing. But they went back and they recalculated that 2005 base year as well as the 5-year increments, and then used that to update their projections out to the future. What that did is, it kind of changes where, what was the largest greenhouse gas emitting segment, in previous years. But ultimately, transportation is still projected to be the single largest emitting sector in 2030. And that's with all of the strategies that they've been contemplating or that they have adopted. So we can anticipate, all of this just builds to anticipating more work in terms of reducing emissions from the transportation sector. The commission also considered substantial revisions to their own procedural rules. And it was very, they had a lot of decisions to make after a pretty robust stakeholder process. So again, their goal was to kind of improve public access and understanding of what the process was and allowing them to better engage with that process. So what ultimately happened is they plan on substantially changing the process, the rulemaking process, and the stakeholder engagement process leading up to any proposed rules. But because there were so many issues that they had to decide, they took preliminary action, and we should see a final adoption in January. So that process isn't quite wrapped up. And if you'll recall, the North Front Range NPO submitted comments and some comments based on experience in the past of engaging that process, and those comments seem to have been taken into consideration. But again, we'll have a final action here in January. Moving on to the RAC activities, I'm going to leave that for Commissioner Stevens to discuss. And so, moving on, the governor, as you probably all know, the governor's office released its Colorado Transportation Vision 2035, identifying transportation-related strategies to reducing air pollution, among other things. And so there was a lot of discussion in that about mode shift or changing travelers' transportation choice as being critical to achieving some of the greenhouse gas reduction goals, and specifically identifies a 65% reduction by 2035. And so it had some big picture ideas about how it wanted to go about it. I think we'll sit back and see, how that transitions or translates into additional efforts to realize those goals. So that'll be interesting. And I will say, while it identified existing revenue sources listed, it clearly identifies that additional funding will be required, which is going to be interesting given the budget, Colorado's budget, and what they're trying to do in terms of reducing the budget in the next year. So it seems kind of juxtaposed. And again, we're going to try to figure out how they sort through this in the coming months. The Air Quality Enterprise met in November. They were discussing potential topics for the next round of funding that they plan to move forward with in 2025. While they will be taking comment, and so if there's folks that have ideas about how to, ideas for, seeking funding for various projects, they have some ideas about how they want to actually pursue or what they want to pursue. And it might not be ozone focused is what I'm understanding in this next round of funding. they seem to be focused a little bit more on like particulate matter, PM 2.5, and that coupled with disproportionately impacted communities. So that really lines up to what we've been seeing and hearing in terms of efforts to address what they call indirect sources of air pollution. So again, those are the operations or facilities that are drawing large amounts of mobile source activity or causing a large amount of mobile source activity. So this can be warehouses, and parking garages and all kinds of different things. So I think we should, watch what's going on there to see, what kind of projects come out of that. But this next round of funding might be a good opportunity to just kind of weigh in and, support what the Intermountain West Air Pollution, the NPO Air Pollution group, that letter that was submitted to EPA administrator back in September in terms of, hey, what's going on in the Intermountain West? We're doing all of this work and ozone levels don't seem to be lowering commensurate with the reduction in precursor pollutants. And so consider, if you will, in your and however you might want to approach that, whether it's through industry or through as an elected official, kind of consider pushing for any air pollution related projects that you might be wanting to be funded in this next round. And so again, the air quality enterprise meets in January and they have opportunity for public comment. And so that's a great place to engage if you're so inclined. So with that, are there any questions?
Any questions for Dina? All right, Dina, you're off the hook. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, excuse me, let's move on to number 6, Regional Air Quality Council. Kristen Stevens, I haven't said hi to you.
Hi,
Kristen.
hi, how are you? Well, actually, Dina reported about the RAC retreat in her notes, but I spoke about it last time, so that actually happened before our last meeting, so we haven't had a meeting since then. So that meeting was November 1st, and we will have a meeting this Friday, so nothing additional to report.
Short report.
Yeah.
All right, super, thank you so much.
Mhm.
Is there any questions for Kristen? All right, thank you. Go on to number 7, which is non-attainment area air pollution mitigation enterprise NFRMPO. Kristen, go ahead.
Okay, so we met today at 3, and we talked about the new grant program, and I think there's a slide, there's slides in our packet that talk about the Community Clean
Page 22.
Transportation Assistance Program that is open for applications at this point. If anybody has any questions, I would refer you to Darius Tafaz at CDOT, who can answer questions about the grant program, but there are about roughly $17 million. There's no maximum grant, but the minimum is $500,000. And that application program will be open through the end of February. They will be uploading a webinar onto the website that will explain, kind of answer common questions that people have about it, but there is a waiver for communities who can't afford the match. The match is only 20% in this case, but we want all communities to be able to participate. So anybody who is in the non-attainment area, which is Olive Well, Southern, Larimer, and a lot of Dr. Cobb would be available. And these are intended to be small, for smaller projects. And then we will be looking at a larger grant process next year that would likely fund things like BRT and regional transit programs. So that's what's going on at NAPNI. There won't be a meeting in January, so we'll have a report for January, and then we'll start again in February.
All right, super. Any questions for Kristen regarding NAPNI? All right, thank you, Kristen. Move on to our reports. Agenda item number 8, report of the chair. You'll hear more from me when we get to the election. Other than that, I'll turn it over to Paul.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. Got a number of update items to share this evening. First on my list is about the Greeley Merge project and their much anticipated 1601 process.
Thunder.
Do you want to talk about it instead?
Go ahead. It's gonna be my highlight.
I'll just share a little bit and then
Go
we
ahead.
can expand. So it's been a lot of expectation waiting for it to go to the Transportation Commission. I think the strategy that was taken was a very cautious and sensible one, which was it went in November for a work session with the Transportation Commission, and then they had an entire month rather than going to the immediately after a meeting to take it back for the actual action of the Transportation Commission. So the workshop took place on November 20th, and it'll be going to the Commission for action in December. Lots of positive feedback from the Commission. Excellent presentation by Heather Paddock and the CDOT staff. The thing that really caught my ear that I wanted to share with the council was the amount of support for the TMO. Lots of recognition of that and how it fits into the overall strategy for US 34. And praise for the city of Greeley for stepping in to operate the transit service. So overall, just really positive feedback from the Transportation Commission, and more to come in December on that. I've got a little bit of information to give you about one of the items that is further down on the agenda. We've got an item on there with budget amendments. The Finance Committee reviewed that item thoroughly, and they were comfortable with putting it on the consent agenda. However, there's just one bit of information that I wanted to share with you all on it, and that is that part of the change that required this amendment is that CDOT is changing the formula that it's using for our CPG grant, which is the main grant that we use at the NPO for funding planning activities. Normally that grant requires a local match, but the state has a set of toll credits that they need to use. And they have decided to apply those to basically meeting some of our local match requirement. And so that results for our 2025 budget year in a lower required local match. So what I wanted to pass along to you is just knowledge that when we send out our bills to all of our members in January, you're going to see a big reduction in the amount the NPO is going to be asking of you. We're only going to be looking for about 20%, give or take, of what we would normally ask for in a year because of the use of those toll credits, which is great news. That's more money back in your communities. I also wanted to, along with that, let you know that the plan is for that to happen for the 2025 fiscal year and the 2026 fiscal year, but just those 2 years. And so we'll include a notice when we send that out to your staff to make sure that they can use their budgeting process to accommodate for that you're going to see a lower amount due to the NPO in 25 and 26, but to not get too attached to it, as in 2027, it's going to go back to the regular split we're used to seeing. Any questions about that one? Great. All right. PE 14, Policy Director 14. There's been some continued motion on that. As you know, the NPO provided a recommendation letter to the Transportation Commission. That letter included detailed language, an actual proposal for how PE 14 could be amended to address issues with completing gaps and making sure that we're still recognizing the importance of capacity projects for growing regions. That was referred to the statewide planning subcommittee of the Transportation Commission. That was last Wednesday. I attended that. Councilman Olson was also there with me as well. And CDOT staff took our recommendation, kind of crafted their own recommendation from it as well, kept a lot of it intact. One of the metrics that wasn't really relevant to capacity was related to clearing traffic accidents that had occurred. That they didn't include that, and I don't think that was necessarily relevant to the request that we were making. And then they have removed a little bit of language around completing gaps in capacity. The main action of the commission subcommittee was that they indicated they really liked the focus on closing gaps in the regional road network, and they wanted that language we had proposed included back into the amendment to the 14. So CDOT staff put that back in. They didn't re-include the word capacity. They recognize there's sensitivity around that, but I think Vice Chair Olson.
Congestion mitigation.
Right, yeah, that was the alternate.
Congestion mitigation.
So at the end, the recommendation coming out of this subcommittee really is the majority of what we had proposed. So we'll be going back to the Transportation Commission. It sounded like the timing of things that will probably be in January when that happens. And then Vice Chair, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add from that conversation.
No, the Transportation Commissioners were on there, they agreed 100%, so that was nice. We didn't have any dissent. They actually added a couple things in that Paul and I brought up and tweaked it a little bit more. We had, I can't remember what it was, but we added something that had congestion without capacity, and they added it. The staff will take it forward. So it's just something that we articulated. It's important that it's in the policy because not all areas in the state are built out. They agreed. So having those three in there helped.
Yeah, there's a positive reception, and yeah, we'll see what happens in January. I'll keep the council updated.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. A couple of personnel updates. Some of you have heard, but not all of you, that tonight is Corey Schmidt's last night with the NPO. He's going to be leaving us for.
That's why he's sitting in the back row.
That's right. He's got a fantastic opportunity down with RTD to be doing some great work with them, connecting to transit and communities. So we wish him all the best in that adventure. Kind of balancing out the sadness of Corey leaving, we have our new mobility planner who has started yesterday. And so Aaron Hall, if you want to go away right there. He's very brave coming to a council meeting on his second day. So yeah.
But there was tacos.
There were tacos. So yeah, that's great news that Aaron's on board. So we'll be getting him up to speed, and it's great to have that mobility planner position filled. We've got the controller position, which we reformatted out there and have received several applications. We're about to do a second boost on that to get a good group together to be able to do interviews. And then we'll be posting Corey's position. The first postings may have actually gone up today. If not, then tomorrow it's going to be posted. We'll be recruiting for that. And my final update is a good news item about Van Gogh service. So our Van Gogh fleet manager, his name is Shane, and he's been with the NPO for more than 8 years. And he tells me that for that entire time, it has been a goal to try to get some Van Gogh service going up to Estes Park. And it's been a real challenge to make it happen. And so it is officially happening now. So we've got a route set up. We're going to be running 2 van pools going up. It's working with the Bureau of Reclamation. They've got a facility up there in Estes Park, and they run folks back and forth between there and Loveland. And so we're going to be running van pools up there. And part of the exciting thing about that is that it's not just that we've got the 2 vans going, but that's our #1 form of marketing, actually, that the majority of the new routes that come on, it's because they saw a van and were curious about it. And so they call the number on it and it becomes a new route. So now that we've got those vans going up there, every day we're going to have two vans back and forth, like giant billboards going up and down. So that's just really an exciting good news item that we've got.
So can the Team Mo take credit for that?
This happened independently of the TMO, but
Congratulations, Commissioner. You got to win.
If it's, yeah, the timing is serendipitous. So I think that covers all of my update items.
Any questions for Paul? We'll hear from Corey here in a bit.
I do have a question.
Yep.
Front Range Community College was talking to me, and they were trying to figure out a way to get between their campuses in Longmont and Fort Collins, and I had recommended Vango as potential. And I'm just wondering if anyone has reached out, or have we ever thought about reaching out to educational facilities like that?
Yeah, we do talk with educational facilities. I don't know if we had a recent referral from that conversation or not, but yeah, it's hard sometimes with the universities and colleges. Like at first blush, it seems like that would be a good connection, but because students are coming and going at such different times, same things with a lot of the professors. It's been a challenge. We do have a CSU route that is going, which just has started within, since I've been here in the past 6 months. And so that was something that was kind of new. I'm not sure if we've got any running to Front Range right now, but.
Or there's been a manufacturing simulated facility in Longmont, and we're trying to get people back and forth between the two campuses.
Yeah, I'll check in with our operations manager and see if we've got that.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else for Paul? All right, let's move on to agenda item number 10, Finance Committee. That's a written report, page 26 of the packet. Number 11 is the TAC report. That's a written report on page 27 of the packet. And then number 12 is the mobility, which is a written report. That's in the handout section. That completes the reports. Moving on to the presentation. Item number 13, mobility program overview. Corey, come up front and center.
I've been locked out of Outlook, so I don't know how technically NPO.
Oh, that's right. We pulled it like
At 4:35 PM.
There's somebody sufficient.
he's out of here.
All righty. Figured I'd get in front of you, everyone one last time, to not only kind of tell the story of NFRMPO as it moves into the next phase of the program operations, but I do know we have some newer council members as well that are still getting up to speed. And new staff, I guess. Starting off, just kind of giving an overview of kind of all things mobility program. So NFRMPO is our one call, one click center is what folks are probably most familiar with, but that's only one of the 4 kind of major hats that we wear between convening the Northern Colorado Mobility Committee and those Larimer and Weld County subcommittees, to leading planning efforts such as the Coordinated Human Services Public Transit Plan, as well as providing technical assistance and monitoring subrecipients for vehicle purchases. And, towards the end of this year, also providing some operational support that's coming to a close. When I was hired 4 years ago, I was given a 200-page plan that said, implement a one-call, one-click center, which, all these programs are neither one call nor one click, but we chose the name NFRMPO to really try to embody what mobility program in this project was all about, which was to help improve individual mobility and regional mobility, and especially for folks that maybe have some challenges with their mobility, such as older adults and people with disabilities, and also recognizing that there are great services that connect our communities in our region, but that we know, especially in rural areas, there were gaps that needed to be filled. So we laid out a 3-year implementation timeline that stretched. That third phase really was half of the implementation. Starting way back from really fast tracking, opening up a call center for helping folks get to their COVID vaccine appointments, to now in the last couple of months we've finished that trip scheduling piece that really advances, really pioneering here on a national level. the transactional data specification to really help it advance that mission to make it easier for folks to find transportation resources and options without having to, go through the roundabout ways of calling, dozens of providers to see if one can serve them. We have call center and website. I'll get into some statistics later on, but we've been breaking records every year, and we're set to close 2024 with the busiest years yet for the call center and for website visits. We launched our trip discovery tool, which, trip planners are not very novel. Google has one, Transit app has one. That's a pretty standard piece. But what makes Northern Colorado and the North Front Range unique is that we included volunteer transportation providers into that trip planning tool as well, just so you could expand that kind of literacy and that knowledge of what resources could be available. And this has been live going on, I guess, 2 years now, and has really, again, was one of the first in the nation to utilize some new technology through the GTFS spec to allow these demand response providers, Saint and Raft in Larimer County and 60 Plus Ride in Weld County, to be included in that planner. And then the third piece, which was the most ambitious and the most tedious, was the trip scheduling component. Way back in 2019, before the pandemic, there was this idea that the NPO was going to take scheduling away from volunteer providers in the North Front Range, and that NPO staff would take calls, schedule rides, dispatch trips, and really be that one-stop shop for human service transportation for the region. Obviously, the world changed quite a bit between 2019 and 2020. So when we started re-examining this piece, we found that these human service agencies were really happy with their scheduling systems and the way that they were conducting business, and especially wanted to maintain those client relationships because, they may provide transportation, but what they really provide is companionship and relationships with these older adult clients. So rather than centralizing the human service transportation approach in Northern Colorado, we shifted to coordination. So, the NPO may not be scheduling rides and dispatching trips, but if we could help folks that are calling into the Ride NoCo call center to maybe reduce one step of that process by being able to assist with intake and making that connection, that could really plant a seed to making it easier for folks to find connections. So similar to the trip discovery tool, we started piloting another new technology. And this was all, we should be very grateful that this was funded with state funds, which allowed us to be a lot more nimble and a lot more innovative than having to go through federal funds approval, which I think is, really a testament to the belief that this council in this region has had in the mobility program, that we've been able to be guinea pigs that will really make an impact, not just here regionally, but nationally. So to move forward on that kind of coordination approach, this new technology called the transactional data specification was coming online. And on the left, you can see kind of the status quo for technology systems, scheduling softwares to communicate. If you want one to communicate with another, you kind of have to build unique plugs that allow them to connect and talk with one another. What the TDS allows for is kind of one centralized plug to basically make it much easier and much, at scale, much cheaper to bring multiple agencies on board together. So we, hearing what the trip scheduling steering committee and these providers really wanted to get out of this project, we thought that the TDS was a really, really good match for trying to advance those shared goals. So we worked closely with 60 Plus Ride, Raft in the Berthoud area, and Saint in Fort Collins and Loveland to build that plug. And it was a long road. you learn that even if you have a 500-page kind of TCRP report of what TDS spec is, there's a lot of blueprinting and scaffolding that needs to be worked through to actually make it a usable product. And we were the first in the nation to do this on a regional scale with multiple providers actually communicating with one another. Basically, we were the first to actually implement it as it was designed. And I think we're out of order here just a little bit. So going through that, finally in Q3 of this year, we're now able to conduct that initial intake on behalf of riders that call in. So rather than, before, if they call us and we thought that maybe 60+ ride could be a good match, we would say, all right, here's their phone number, give them a call. Now we're able to conduct that initial intake right there over the phone, and we've used that feature 11 times over the last 3 months, which is a small number, but knowing that, it's been growing exponentially every month, and we've been hearing really positive reports from the transportation providers that once they're getting the hang of it, it really does save a little bit of time on their end. They don't necessarily have to gather as much of the back-end information to get folks registered. They're there to provide transportation, not fill out eligibility forms. And then the second big component is not only are these, is the Ride No Go call center connected to these providers, they're now connected with one another. And as of the last couple of weeks, they're now able to share trips with one another, which really shows, use case 2 and 3 here. So the idea is to help providers say yes more often, not no. So say they get a request for a call and they don't have a driver available at that time, maybe they can send out a flag to the other providers to see if they have a driver that could fill in there. And then I think the most exciting piece, especially as the North Front Range continues to grow, is that coordinate piece. And that is now possible with their scheduling software systems to have multiple providers work on a trip together. So say, Greeley has been really expanding in the medical services that they offer. If someone in Berthoud needs to get to Greeley for medical appointment, Raft could work with 60+ Ride to find a central meeting spot to kind of hand off that client and continue the trip. I think those second and third use cases are really more long-term as the needs arise. But I think it's important that, functionally, these agencies are able to do that, and any future agency that comes on board is as well. This tedious project, as it became known due to staff person's Texan accent trying to say TDS, was recognized by the Colorado Association of Transit Agencies as the Transit Project of the Year for 2024.
Just in time for your resume, right?
So I think it's, gratifying for the work that these software vendors for these small human service agencies that have shoestring budgets to begin with, that they were willing to take that leap to try something new, really because of that shared commitment and that collaborative spirit, that it was recognized by our transit peers around the state. And as part of the third phase, on the back end, we also have a whole bunch of new data reporting tools. So we have heat maps that show where calls are coming from. We have an interactive dashboard that we can see where people are calling from, what county they live in, what kind of mobility needs are they experiencing. All of this data, I think, will be really instrumental, not just for the NPO and their planning efforts, but for your communities as well, and really being able to take these pieces of data and incorporate them into the planning processes, because model data is great, census data is great, but having some real qualitative, quantitative data, I think really can make all the difference in the world. as well. This may look familiar from when I visited you all in July. Just wanted to update for the third quarter, which shows that we have more calls in the first 9 months of this year than we did of all of 2023. And then we had just about the same number of website visits. Those have both kind of soared past 2023's records. I also want to highlight the county breakdown for calls. For the first couple of years at the NPO, it was a pretty rough 45% split between Weld and Larimer counties. Especially this year, we've seen the number of calls from Weld County kind of really drop drastically. And I don't think it's a lack of doing outreach and equally in the region. I think it really speaks to the success of programs such as the VIA Mobility Service in Weld County, 60 Plus Ride getting a wheelchair accessible van, that we feel, we see that in the data already, that less people are seeking out transportation resources because there is a service available for them that meets their needs. That's not to, take a jab at Larimer County. I think, both all the communities in both counties really provide great services, but I think it speaks to, it's great that we get more and more calls and more awareness, but we know that's a double-edged sword that indicates that folks are struggling to find resources. And, the really established providers, especially in Larimer County, are focused on Loveland, Fort Collins, and Berthoud. When we're finding that there are a lot of gaps, especially along the I-25 corridor in those spots of Larimer County that are outside of those three cores. So I just wanted to share that kind of that narrative on the data piece with the call breakdown. And then just lastly, looking at 2024 by the numbers, as of earlier this week, we're at 350 calls for the year, over 4,500 website visits. We've attended over 31 community events, and the subrecipients of roof support either through their vehicles or by providing some purchase transit support. You see 3 vehicles provide wheelchair accessible vehicles providing almost 1,700 one-way trips, which is quite impressive. And 2 agencies, Envision and 60 Plus Ride, providing close to just under 16,000 one-way trips. So moving forward, and this is the part where, I'm trying to tell you all where I'd like to see the program go, but I don't think I'm even officially an NPO employee anymore, so I have no say in this matter. These kind of parallel efforts, 2019 and 2020, the NPO looking at mobility management, 2022 looking at transportation demand management. At the end of the day, it's about providing folks with resources and services to help them move more effectively around their communities. Rhinoco is evolving into being a regional TDM program as well, having one central hub for helping folks get to where they want and need to go. We've put so much effort into the TDS spec that now that we have the blueprint, we have the plug ready to go. Nothing is precluding, public transit agencies, private transportation providers from kind of plugging in as well. And the DRCOG region is embarking on kind of a Ride Alliance 2.0 that will be utilized in the TDS spec. So that there's opportunities as well to better connect our providers here in Northern Colorado down to Metro Denver, where folks do still struggle to get to medical appointments at Anschutz and other locations. And as we kick off our update to the coordinated plan in 2025, we want to be able to continue to identify and address those regional transportation gaps. As we saw a couple slides ago, new services such as the VIA Mobility project really do make an impact when you provide new services to communities that need transportation. So let's continue to work together to find those gaps and brainstorm solutions that bring resources. And then I just wanted to close out by kind of showing an image of the Way to Go platform that is expanding into Lamar and Weld counties. The platform is there. It's kind of on a soft launch basis. Aaron and NPO staff will be working closely with the city of Fort Collins, who are also kind of getting on board the Way to Go platform with their Shift Your Ride brand. So, we want to use this opportunity to really help introduce more ride matching options and opportunities to the region at a fraction of the cost that going independent would have brought us. And I forgot to change the contact information on here, so look at the right side of the page and not the.
That it?
That's it.
Thank you, Corey. Any questions for Corey?
Just a comment, thank you for your work, Corey. Obviously, it's been outstanding. It's award-winning. You could say you have been award-winning. We appreciate you. We will miss you. Good luck in your new endeavor.
Thank you so much.
All right, awesome.
Next, we have a consent agenda. The way we do it in Loving is just get you an opportunity to pull the agenda item. Anybody wants to? Seeing none, we take a vote or not on
Yeah. Move to approve the consent agenda.
it. Thank you. Do I hear a second? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, passed. All right, action items. Number 15, this is the 2025 officers election. I'll take care of the low hanging fruit. We got three positions, one of which is past chair, which by definition I'll fill. And then we got, by tradition, we moved the vice chair into the chair position. And I'd like to do that by unanimous consent, unless I see otherwise. Excellent. Congratulations, Johnny. The chair. The next important spot is the vice chair. This time around, this is, the eligible people are from Larimer County. And unless I did my math wrong, we got 4 people. We got Bill from Timoth, got Tricia from Fort Collins, Kristen from Larimer County, and Will from Berthoud. The way this works is that you can nominate yourself. Seconds aren't necessary, but you can. And we'll start with the nominations. If we have more than one person for the position, we'll go to hopefully we have pieces of paper around here that we can go to a vote with. I think that's it for the rules of engagement, so they say. So for vice chair, I am opening up the nominations.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Stevens for that role.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I'll second. Will.
thank you, Will. All right. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, I move we cease nominations and elevate Commissioner Stevens to vice chair by acclamation, please.
Perfect. Well said. No objections. Congratulations, Kristen. And your vice chair. Just one more row, right? Well, that was easy. Thank you all. Go back to the agenda, discussion items. Agenda item number 16. We have the fiscal year 2024 tip delay review. Jonathan, you go by John or Jonathan?
Jonathan, but it's fine.
Okay, appreciate your flexibility. Jonathan Stockford, you can follow along on page number 28 of the packet.
All right. Hello, everyone. So again, the FY 2024 project delay review is an evaluation we do on the project of funding that has been awarded by council. This evaluation is done annually to ensure funding is being utilized in a timely manner. Funding sources for review include CMAC, STVG, TA, MOF, and CRP. The process involves looking at the milestone deadlines that were included in the project application. For construction projects, this is the add date, and for non-construction, the deadline is the notice to proceed. Projects with a first extension are delayed by TAC, which will happen at the December meeting. And any subsequent extensions must be approved by the planning council, and that will happen in January. So there were 28 projects that were up for delay. 2 are up for a third delay, 9 are up for a second delay, 7 are up for a first delay, and 10 of those projects were not delayed. To start, we will go through the 2 projects that were up for a third delay. There's the US 287 intersection improvements for Fort Collins and the 59th Avenue and O Street roundabout in Greeley. As for second delays, there is the Hoodoo River Regional Trail Windsor to 10th connection in Laramie County, WCR 1311 improvements in Windsor, CR 19 improvements in Fort Collins, US 287 and Trilby intersection improvements in Fort Collins, 83rd Avenue roadway improvements in Greeley, citywide signal time in Greeley, Hoodoo River Trail realignment improvements in Windsor, SH 287 west sidewalk gap in Loveland, and US 34 widening Boise to Rocky Mountain. There are 7 projects up for the first delay. I won't go through them, but here they are. And then there were 10 projects that were up for delay, but were not delayed. Quick note here is with the PNF funding, that was Pandemic North Front Range. All the projects, the 3 projects that with this funding all met their milestone deadline of September 30th. So basically, you don't have to worry about this funding source ever again, no longer exists. So again, as a reminder, this is just a discussion item today. If there's any projects you'd like to bring up about the delay or any projects you'd like to discuss, now is the time. But as far as presenting, that is all I have.
You got a question?
Yeah, so I don't remember the process. Maybe I slept during that meeting.
That was my question too. Somewhere along the line, I'm waiting for the process.
Yeah,
So
so
we vote on it.
after the third, what's the process? First delay, second delay, third delay, fourth delay, fifth delay, and we're going out of business.
So first delays are by the TAP council.
No, I understand that, but what happens after the third delay? When does something go wrong?
We've never had anything go past a third delay. So third delays, we've had 1 third delay due to an endangered species being found in the project area. And the other third delay was due to CDOT delays. So we haven't had anything. We haven't had anything go past a third delay. So I would say if we got to a third delay and we, go through this again in a year, get to the 4th delay, we would move to take the funds back.
Or would it come to council?
Yeah, we would recommend.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, there might be a reason, like,
There could be a very good reason, another endangered species.
whatever. We had another pandemic.
Or something, yeah.
I'm just saying, that's depressing.
So I just couldn't remember when the money was pulled.
We've never pulled funds, we've had funds returned, but we've never pulled funds.
Okay.
And then again.
Thank you.
So do we vote to approve all the delays then? Is that what we'll do?
The second and third.
Just the second.
In January, yeah. The first is a sort of a free pass kind of a thing, and then second and third are approved by council.
You only get one swap from the.
So this is kind of the heads up for the January thing.
It seems like a lot of them were like right away and acquisition kind of situations. Is that what we see mostly? I mean, besides the.
Railroad, right away, endangered species, CDOT.
CDOT. I'm not going to.
Yeah. Things, it's the stuff that utilities, the things that really delay projects. That's what delay projects.
Yeah.
And it's very rarely CDOT, I'm just kidding.
Jonathan, you have more?
It's all great.
Any final questions from John?
Any action on this is in January.
Yes, that's my understanding. Just for the record, we're gonna call you Jonathan, because we have a John and we have a John.
Sounds good.
And you don't want to be confused with Jim.
All right, Becky, you're up with the 10-year priority list. Coming to Staples.
Yes, I promise you, I will come to an end with this. No, I did want to brief the council, just remind everyone that the workshop has been scheduled for January 30th. It will be from 2:30 to 4:30 if it goes that long, and it will be at the Wells County Administrative Center. So thank you to Wells County for hosting us. At the November TAC meeting, we discussed several of the projects that I mentioned at the November council meeting that were requesting to be added or moved between tiers. During that discussion, there was more information that was requested and more information that's needed in additional projects. And so more discussion will happen at the December TAC meeting. And that will come to you in January. So I will provide the projects in the January council packet. And at the council meeting, we'll go over how the voting will take place so that everything is good to go when we have that workshop at the end of January. But just to let council members know, the projects that are being requested to either be added or expanded. Wells County has one, Fort Collins has one, the city of Greeley has one, but it might be two. And then Berthoud has three, two that are roadway and one that is non-motorized. And then Loveland has two that are roadway and one that is non-motorized as well. So, but that's all that I have for an update for this month. And hopefully by February will be the last time you hear from me about this, hopefully. So, thank you. Unless there's questions.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Becky. All right, we'll go on council reports. First is agenda item number 18, Transportation Commission. I don't believe Jim came in the room. I don't believe he's online. So we'll go on to item number 19, which is
Can I just ask a question about that? Have we heard, or we know they're gonna have somebody in? Because I don't, nobody's heard anything.
Yeah,
don't know if anyone's heard anything.
yeah, the same discussion happened at Upper Front Range TPR meeting today, and I don't think anybody there had any news, just anecdotes of people who had been asked, but turned it down. It's a labor intensive job.
Labor intensive for a lot of money.
It looks like we're doing an election update there too. I just got an update on the remaining seats. That was, the recount was finishing today, and the first wave came out as a tie.
Wow.
And this is to determine if the Dems have a supermajority as well. And then the board repealed 3 of the Dems votes. So the
Repeal.
I'll tell you exactly what she said. The mandatory recount for HD 16 initially brought this race to a tie. It was only in the process of the canvas board's review that the 3 e-health votes were reversed, which therefore tilted the election in Ms. Kelty's favor by 3 votes. It is my understanding the canvas board's report will be certified by the Secretary of State, which will make Ms. Kelty the representative, but e-health can still appeal it as well.
Wow. For the record, I only won by 1 vote, so I know the
It
thing.
matters.
Yes, it does.
Still a W there, pal.
That's right. Just call me constable. All right, so 19, CDOT R4 update. It is a written report. It's in the handout section. They are in the room if somebody has a question.
I would love to just point out that part of the written update is about the Colorado hands-free law. It begins January 1st, 2025. There's a bunch of promotional items that I linked. So for your local agencies, if you want to spread the news, Johnny will probably get a ticket.
Council member, oh, really?
Yeah.
The good
First
news
place, I
is,
need to vote. Yeah.
first offense, $75 fine. However, it will get waived if you show proof of buying a hands-free mounting device. So basically, just don't drive holding any sort of electronic device. It does not count if it's on speaker holding it. It's not just for phone calls, it's for GPS navigation, texting, all the things. And there's a lot of statistics in here for you guys as to the safety benefits. And
Cops have got so much time on their hands.
well, it is a secondary
It's
offense.
secondary offense.
Yeah,
Secondary.
it's a secondary offense. So
Something else.
You're killing it.
So keep your tail lights on.
Actually, show them 85 miles an hour.
Apple CarPlay was a.
Right. You started it?
Well, that's it. I really recommend you look at it. And there's also a bunch of project updates that Dee put together from our engineers. So good info in there too.
Awesome. Any questions?
Thanks, Dee.
You see that? That's a lot. Check those nuggets out.
All right.
I'm just gonna ask all the questions.
Yeah.
The motorcycle filtering law, will there be any public education around that? I'm hearing a lot of confusion with what is allowable and what's not.
Let me look into that one. I don't know much about it, but I can ask. I can ask our friends at CSP.
Right. Anything else? All right, moving on to the staff report, written report, page 37 of the packet. And we have the CTIO written report, that's in the handout. We have the I-25 Coalition, Commissioner James.
Yeah, we met, it was good, a lot of people there, good conversation, heck, most of you were there, so I always feel covered, done as I tell us. One thing that we did do last night was a significant note that I would like to continue this evening. We recognized Elizabeth Relford. She's not leaving the county, but she is changing positions, which will take her out of the, at least a regular involvement in the transportation conversation. Elizabeth has been foundational in transportation in northern Colorado for the last decade or so. And so I would like you to join me in recognizing the mayor. She's still working for us, and knows you're gonna have, but it's just a different job. So thank you, Elizabeth, and that's all I have.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so
Can
much.
I,
Yeah,
make
go
a
ahead.
comment about the meeting?
Yeah.
I thought the PDF, that was included in the packet for the meeting, was very informative. And I've shared that with our council and trying to publicize what's going on I-25 using that as a vehicle. I thought it was really well put together by CDOT.
But the councilor, speaking of, if you did not attend last evening, is CDOT's project updates, which are newer and more robust than ever. And
Really
if you'd like those, Evan's your new guy that'll help on stuff. Please reach out to Evan, he can give it to you.
Thank you for that. Let's move on to Front Range Passenger Rail. Will's online and Trista's in the room with her issues. So I don't know who wants to go first.
Not a lot to report.
We didn't have a meeting. Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
We didn't
Sorry,
have
go
a
ahead.
meeting. There was a meeting on Monday with the Government Affairs and Communications Committee, and basically the 184 conversations are still continuing with CDOT, DTIO, Front Range Passenger Rail, and RTD. There is a lawsuit pending with 184, so.
I'm not sure what 180.
184 is the $3 charge on the rental fee that will go to transit and Front Range Passenger Rail. So we're kind of in a holding pattern, still trying to figure out station locations in the north. That is Loveland and Fort Collins. We did have a meeting with Colorado Rail came up and Front Range Passenger Rail at CSU a few weeks ago, and they gave a presentation, and that was really great. And so you'll see more community outreach going on. If there's anyone that you think should be involved in coalition building for the ballot initiative in 2026, please let me know so I can pass that on to Front Range Passenger Rail's communication.
Any update on where the SDP is?
I think that's due the end of this month.
Who is this, who brought the lawsuit from them?
I think rental cars.
Companies?
All right, any rail questions? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the host council member report. Councilor Olson, thank you so much for having us. I will say that the food was excellent. Facilities Passed.
Congratulations.
Did you have to pay for it?
I didn't come out of the city budget.
How's your oil and gas paid?
There you go.
Oil and gas and probably, kids' tuitions.
Fair enough. Johnny, go ahead.
Well, welcome to Greeley, everyone. I can go over projects. One of the things I want to expand on, I'm sure you guys have heard about, the endeavor that the city of Greeley is financially investing in reviewing a potential West Greeley development. I'm sure everybody's heard of it. We're in, and we're deep in it. And there's a misconception that the city of Greeley is really doing this financial review and this pro forma review. It's not. We've hired 3 different firms that are doing it, very detailed review on what we can and what we can't do. The city council's had a couple of presentations, and it really comes down to nickels and dimes at the end, right? It's just, can you make it work in the city of Florida? So we'll see where it comes out, but hopefully at the end of December, sometime in January, we'll have some numbers, but it's a good thing, which brings me up to the transportation side of it. US 34 is County Road 17. I think if anybody drove US 34 today and tried to get here, it was probably a little bit of a delay going through that intersection. It connects Greeley, Windsor, Johnstown, Weld County, all of us in that area, and people that move between Loveland and Greeley quite often. But there's going to be some need for some improvements along that if this does go through. I see an interchange. There's debate on whether it's an interchange, but I think it needs to be an interchange. I don't want, if we do get this new place and we open up and it takes everybody 2 hours to get in there, it might be a little bit disgruntled with people going to a game. So just be heads up, that'll probably come up at our 10-year project plan list, I'm sure. And then US 34 and 35th, we're working on that, hopefully get something started on that soon. We got the $20.5 million grant. 1601 will hopefully get approved in December, which I'm feeling pretty good. Shoshana has come on board with the project. She sees a great deal of benefit to it now, and I think everything we talked about the connectivity and the regional component, she's come a long ways on it, so I think we're in good shape there. 1601 gets done, we'll do the EA, and then we'll hopefully, I think we can start construction in 26 on something, at least a package. That's my hope the team pulls it off. Big need. We, I don't know if you guys heard, we passed our food tax. There's no sunset on it this last election cycle. Plus we passed being able to go into debt for the TIFIA. So we were very successful in Greeley this year in our election. So
Do you mean a food tax or removal?
no, we put the food tax back on, and it was on a 5-year sunset, but we didn't put a sunset on it this time, because that's what's gonna help us pay our TIFIA. So we had to have them both go, because then we had to try to figure out what we were gonna do with that one. So, good news, a lot of work going on. I did notice we did have a 3rd delay on that. But it sounds like it's a railroad issue, but still, hopefully we get that off. 59th of O Street. That's about all I have, but we do have a lot of good things going on. We have a lot of developers. We got our airport stuff. They're talking about a new airport park out in the airport. We have a 10,000-foot runway. There's only 3 of them in the state. The vision is pretty grand. Working with Weld County on that. Pretty grand. Hotels, 2 different terminals, one for private, one for commercial. And then city center downtown, which 8th Avenue and 10th Avenue and all that's in there. Look, we have a developer interested in building the city center with hotels and working with Weld County on that too, because a lot of the stuff is Weld County, City of Greeley down in downtown. So a lot of good things going on. We have people that are interested in Greeley for some reason. Maybe it's because no one else is, don't say that. No one else is building, but we're pretty excited.
Thanks for coming. Yeah. Thank you for that. Before we go into executive session and kick people out of here, I will say this has been a real fun ride for me. I was a little worried at first because so many expertise in this room, and subject matter experts and transportation experts, and I walk in the middle of this a little worried about it, but you guys have been so kind and gracious and patient. appreciate that. One of the things I was really nervous about is following Commissioner James. Commissioner James knows everybody's name, title, middle initial, firstborn, and here's me going, go.
I'm gonna be a lot like you,
Yeah,
Joe.
well, I appreciate the informal meetings, because in Loveland, ours is too formal. So anyway, I appreciate you all, and next time, January. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we have an executive session stuff to read. We did not practice this.
Mr. Chairman, I request a 3 to 3.5 minute recess before I gotta run down the hall.
3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Give people a chance to get out of here.
Yeah, and that's fine. If you're not a member, you can go ahead and go.